Hello, Electroheads. When I was a kid, I thought I was an engineering genius. I once built a propeller out of strings on the end of my granny's strimmer.
What?
That sounds like garden strimmer. I also loved anything motorized, especially if it had wheels. But today I'm going to be trying something that has been redesigned, rebuilt from the ground up by someone whose engineering career progressed, unlike mine. Now, this is an electric skateboard called Hunterboard, and there's plenty of reviews online on it, but instead of making yet another one, my goal for today is to share my honest experience riding it. Now, to give this video a little bit of structure, I'm going to share with you my 5 things I absolutely love about this board, and 5 things I not so love about this board. So feel free to use the timestamps down below. Let's go! Number 1, it's the feeling you get when you accelerate in sports mode. It is brutal. The amount of torque this thing has instantly is probably the most fastest accelerating skateboard I've ever ridden, and I've ridden quite a few. Now, let me demonstrate. I'm rolling at 10 miles an hour right now, and I'm gonna go full throttle. I'll have to compensate a lot by leaning forward, but watch this. Oh my God! Brutal, like I said, and what that does is also allows you to go uphill. Hunterboards claim 30% gradient, which is a lot. We're going uphill now absolutely seamlessly. On the board that I use on a daily basis, I think it would really struggle here. So I can really feel the torque it delivers. Now, if sports mode is too much for you, you've got 4 other modes. You've got soft, cruising, rain, sport, and custom, where you can customize it to your preference, which makes this board a lot more versatile depending on your skill set. Number 2, it has reverse mode. I seem to get overly excited about reverse mode. Ooh, wrong way! What? But let me demonstrate. You come to a stop and use the brake and go the other way, and suddenly you can reverse the other way. Now, it's quite difficult to actually go the other way because I'm regular. Okay, I'm gonna stop now.
You're pathetic.
Let's go to number 3. This thing can go off-road. Oh my God, she's up. Number 3, this thing can go off-road if you so wish. Now, thanks to its incredible ground clearance and dual suspension,
you're pathetic.
I don't know how visible it is, but the terrain I'm on right now is just stones and cobble. It's really rough, but through my body, barely any shake, barely any vibrations. Those springs are soaking everything up, and this is coming from my experience riding an e-board every single day that doesn't have any suspension. Mind blown. As far as I know, Hunter are going to be releasing other variants of their wheels, from pneumatic to other options. I can't wait to try them out off-road, because if these polyurethane wheels are soaking up all of this right now, my God, what is this going to be like on pneumatic tires? The torque on this is incredible. I'm going off-road on terrain which it's struggling with, uphill, and it's just going. I mean, this is half throttle. I could go more. Watch that. Oh! What? This thing is a beast. So stable at high speed, man. Wow. I think their idea of having front wheel steering only was to give it more stability at high speeds. At first I didn't quite connect with it, I didn't really understand it, but now I've just been off-road and understood its dynamics a bit more. This feels really good, man. I'm very used to having front and rear steering, gives you more angle, etc., but for its purpose and what this thing gives you, it's bang on. It's fine-tuned so precisely. It takes your muscles to get used to its dynamics instead of your brain. And once you get there, now I'm starting to enjoy the board. Because at first I was battling it, it didn't feel intuitive. And there's quite a few videos I've seen online of people not enjoying it because of its dynamics, but I understand why. Because at first I had that as well, not anymore. Now I've started to connect with the board. This is a different breed. Okay, point number 4, change of scene. It's actually to do with charging. So this board charges from 0 to 100% in 1 hour. Moja and I have stopped for a little lunch break, and hopefully by the time we finish, it'll be fully charged. The charger actually has a fan built into it to keep it cool, which I find most Chinese boards, they don't have that. They overheat a lot. God knows what could happen. The fact that it has a built-in fan gives me a lot of confidence. Number 5, it's the design. This thing is worthy of being hung on a wall as a piece of art. And the fact that it can actually do all of the things that we've just been through as well is a recipe for, well, my number 1 point that I really don't like about this. It's the price. It costs, are you ready? £2,000.
I'm out of here.
Normally, I would say that's way too much, that's ridiculous, but this thing is built like nothing else on the market. And if that's too much, there's plenty of options on the market for a cheaper board. But what you get here is space-grade aluminium, stuff that planes and rockets are made out of. I mean, that is just mind-boggling. Attention to detail, the design of all these springs and arms and tracks, it is beautiful. And it has purpose too. Now, despite the fact that my number 1 point that I don't like about this board, I have a lot of justification for it, because at the end of the day, like I said, you're buying into the latest tech, you're buying into incredible R&D. These guys have built an entire facility that builds this thing from the ground up, all in-house. So you are going to spend that little bit extra for that. While we're on the topic of justifying its price, if you do happen to be on the market for a hunter board, and this video has helped you decide on getting one, we have just made it available on our online Electrohead store. This is where we bring together our favorite e-rides on the planet and make them available to our viewers. The link to the shop is in the description below. Anyway, back to the video. Point number 2 that I don't particularly like is the fact that the remote comes inverted from factory. So I'm used to pushing forward to go forward and back to brake/reverse. So just be careful and change it to your setting, because otherwise you'll look something like this. Hey, oh, where am I going? No, wrong way. Point number 3 that I don't like is the fact that it has front axis steering only, which is kind of counterintuitive because skateboards are always front and rear steering. So you don't get as much lean angle in the turns, and it's a little bit strange when you're used to riding in a certain way. Now, having spent a little bit of time on the board, I've gone off-road, which definitely pushed my limits of how I feel about riding it. I now feel a lot more comfortable and connected to the board. I don't actually mind the front steering only. It kind of starts to make sense when you start to be comfortable with it. Now, hunter boards say that the idea behind front axis steering only is that it's a lot more stable at high speeds, and this thing can do 31 miles an hour, which is about 50 kilometers an hour, and that's not slow. So having that comfort and stability does give you that confidence. However, I would argue it's a little unnecessary because I'm used to riding these boards at those kind of speeds, and with front and rear steering, it's totally fine. So in a nutshell, yes, I don't particularly like the front steering only, but I've adapted to it and I've started to like it a little bit more. Now, before we move on to point number 4, I've got Moja with me, who actually used to race on e-boards. Moja, you fancy a go?
Yeah, give it a hit. Oh, sorry, this is not a great start. So I've been riding skateboards for 21 years. So to get on a board like this, it is like nothing else I've ever ridden. It's got independent suspension and only the front turns, which is super strange. But I've quite enjoyed this initial first ride. And you have to adjust to the fact that the back won't turn to complete your turn. So it's so much like an electric car, because electric cars these days are all built on that flat deck platform. So all you need is like a camp chair on here, and I mean, look, now it's an electric car. Hey!
Now, Electroheads, I have something to come clean to you about. I said there would be 5 things that I don't like about the board, and I lied, because actually the 3 that I've mentioned are pretty much it. I can't actually fault the board. For what it is, for its purpose, for its design, language, and everything they've aimed for, it is spot on. Now, of course, there are bits and bobs, that attention to detail, that maybe I'll pick up on and a few of you will also notice. For example, the remote has a tool on the bottom of it that unscrews the screws on the deck. But in doing so, it scrapes with the grip. And as you can see here, I've got loads of scratches now. So just a tiny detail that would annoy me as an owner, knowing that I'm scratching it every time I have to take the battery out. I'm sure Hunter we'll take that on board and probably reiterate that on the new version. But other than that, I honestly can't fault it. I've thoroughly enjoyed riding this thing. I've adapted to it. My muscles aren't tired anymore because my body's relaxed and they understand what it's doing. So that's pretty much it. Now, it's about 3 p.m. right now. Don't tell anyone, but I'm gonna end the video there and continue enjoying myself. Ciao.